Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the hybrid training program. And in this program, you will be in this training, you will be learning about how to write a project proposal. My name is Amnat Nehan, and I will be guiding you on the parts of a project proposal. And by the end of this session, I hope you will all have a fair understanding of how the proposal will be written. So these are the objectives. By the end of the presentation, you will be able to define project and project proposals, explain a project cycle, and how project proposals fit into it, outline the role of the project proposal and activities of each stage of the proposal, structure your project proposal, define and explain the use of a logical framework, demonstrate the relationship between the different parts of a logical framework, and develop a project proposal. So it's very guided. By the end, you'll be able to write your own project proposal. So here's a little bit about what a project is and what it isn't. So as you can see, here's the definition. A project is a series of activities systematically designed and carried out with the aim of achieving clearly defined objectives or goals. Here you can see two keywords. First is systematically designed. So the design has to be in such a way that the defined objectives or goals can be achieved. So systematically designed and achieving clearly defined objectives or goals. Those two parts are very important for a project. A project stems from the strategic plan of the organization. Every organization will have a strategic plan, and the project is stemming from part of your motivation or your mandate to achieve the organization's strategic goals. So this is a little bit about what a project is not. It's not the activities that are repeated exactly the same way annually or twice a year or in a periodic basis like that. It's if you don't have clear goals or objectives, then also it's not fitting into the category of a project. The same way, ongoing organizational activities are also not counted as a project. So a project must be, like I said earlier, related to the strategic plan of the organization. So here's the project cycle. As you can see at the top, we have to begin with the identification of an issue or a need or an opportunity. So then the logical sequencing begins. So first of all, the issue has to be identified. The needs have to be identified. What are the opportunities to implement the project? What is the importance of the project? All this you have to identify, after which you have to work with the project idea, conceptualize it. How is this project going to be implemented? What are its parts? What are you going to achieve? All that. So first, you have to identify the issues and needs. Then you do the conceptualization of the idea, and then your project design. So here is the part where you design the entire project. This is what we are going to do. These are the stakeholders. These are the ways that we are going, the stages of the project. This is the way we are going to finance it, all that you design it. Then you look for how the project will be financed through the project proposal submission and all that. After that, you implement the project as per the activities you have indicated in the project design. After implementation comes a very important stage, which is monitoring and evaluation of project results. So for you, it's very important for an organization to evaluate and constantly monitor its project to see what are the impacts, what are the effects, what worked, what didn't, and why the things that didn't work didn't actually work. So you have to identify all this and prepare your reports and all that, right? So it's like a cycle. After that, again, the needs will be identified or the project amended, right? And then it goes on like that. So you have to complete that cycle in order to properly manage your project, right? So here's a bit detail of how and the different elements of the project proposal. So the project proposal is a detailed description of a series of activities aimed at solving a certain problem. So you're describing the activities you are going to do in the project. Earlier we have identified what a project is and how it's related to the strategic goal of the organization. Now you're preparing a project proposal outlining why the project is important, what are the activities, how you're going to monitor and all that. So the parts of the proposal should be things, these important parts should be there, right? First, the project proposal. Why is the project important? You have to justify it. So first part is the justification. Then your goals and objectives. What are you trying to achieve through this project? What is the methodology? Methodology means what are the ways in which the project will be implemented or carried out. Then the various activities. What are the things that you have to specifically do, right? So activities means breaking down everything, writing down clearly what are the things that will be done, right? Then the timeline is very important. By the end of which month or which year, what are you trying to achieve? Right? Breaking down again the duration into measurable periods of time. Then you have to identify also a part of the proposal is identification of human, material and financial resources that you need in order to implement or carry out the project, right? So remember that the project proposal is a tool and not a goal. You are actually using the project proposal to achieve your objectives or goals, right? So here are the elements: project title, goals and objective, description of project activities, expected results, implementation plan, beginning of operations, resource allocations, project personnel or the staff, detailed budget, including the source of funds, and the logical framework. So we'll be looking at each of these parts and working on each of these parts separately so that by the end of the presentation you have a little bit of each written down, and then you can spend a few more hours trying to revise the whole thing and putting it together. But by the end there'll be a clear outline for you to work on. All right. So now we know what a project is and what a project proposal is. So let's have a look at where the project proposal is fitting into the project cycle. So like I said earlier, you can see from the top, identification of issues, needs and opportunities. This is where the project becomes important. You identify an issue and you say, okay, we need to do this, we need in order to benefit this group of people, or this target group needs this. So you identify these needs, then you have the project idea, conceptualization. After that, you're designing the project. So project proposal is the design actually. Here you are indicating the goals, the description of activities, implementation plans, resources, personnel, logical framework, all that. So project proposal is the part where the project designing happens, right? So what you are doing in the proposal is actually designing the project, okay? So before you start the project proposal, these are the important things you have to do, right? Because the issues, needs and conceptualization part should come ahead of project proposal writing. So you can see here, collect primary information and collect secondary information. So primary information means first-hand accounts, first-hand information, right? Conduct surveys such as situational analysis, baseline, try to find out the severity of the issue, collect as much information about it through surveys with the target group, other types of establishing a baseline and all that, right? So first get to know the context, get to know the environment, how much an impact this issue is causing, but if it is not, what are its harmful effects, or what needs to be done in order to make something better. So interview past and prospective beneficiaries. So those who have actually experienced this in the past, and those who will receive the benefits of your current project. So both groups you can actually interview. These are just different ways. You don't have to do each and every one of this. So as much as possible, collect primary information. These are some of ways you can do it. Hold community meetings or forums. Nowadays, you can do an online forum as well, right? Very easily. So there are many ways you can do this. Consult experts for their opinion. So without this, if you implement the project or design the project, there will be so many problems. So it's, first of all, it's very important to gather as much information as you can about the target population, the impact of the issue and all that. The secondary information, these are reviewing actually the documented or data that documents and data that has already been gathered about a particular issue. Review past project evaluation reports, look for and verify statistical data, review past project proposals. So if there are project proposals that have been that actually has addressed this issue, review that. Other types of data that has been gathered, you can access that, evaluation reports and all that, right? So sometimes these might not be in your particular organization, but you might have to search for information elsewhere. For example, there are so many national surveys done, national statistics that are gathered, and this data is sometimes available online. Sometimes you might have to approach a particular organization for this data, but you should have all the relevant data before you begin. So this is how you're going to inform yourself about the issue, right? And then here's the first activity, right? Again, a bit of establishing a background. Why? First ask yourself why, right? Why is this project important? Are you sure it is important? Would people be interested to join the project? Why do you seek funds, and from what donor, right? So the project proposal is actually describing a situation or an issue that you want to address in your island or community, or the organization, part of the organization strategic plan to achieve a particular target you're conducting the project. So why is the project important? So this is the justification part, right? Then also you can briefly think about what kind of activity is it, right? What is the purpose of the project? What is the context? What are the relevant parts, right? What results are you seeking to achieve? What are the topic and the content? How are you going to achieve? How is the methodology, right? What do you need? Financial resources, human resources, materials, goods. What are the things you will actually need for this project? What will be the cost and the funding, right? And what will be the follow-up? So you have to think about this, the situation, analyzing the situation further, the situation that the issue that we are gathering information on, right? Who is going to benefit from this project? What will be the target group? When you are determining the target group, think about their age, background, their experience, other information, right? So all demographic information. Who will be participating? Who are the partners, right? Are you going to seek the help of NGOs or other groups who you are going to partner up with. Do you know them well? What can they really contribute to the project? By joining, will this group's involvement in your project, will it enhance the value of your project, right? So think about that. Who is responsible for what? Who will be coordinating? Who will be following up? Who can help? Who will be the experts that you are going to consult, right? Where will you meet? Who is repeated twice? The second who is actually where. Where will you meet to prepare to run the activity? Where will you start and where will it end? When will it start? When will it end? So all these things you have to first think about. So in identification of issues, needs, and opportunities, and conceptualization of the project idea, you first need to go through these two stages, thinking about it, putting something on paper so that you have a fair idea of what the issue is, what its impact is, and why this issue, due to this issue, your project is so important, for which group and why, right? So you don't need to answer each question that I have written here. Just think about it and roughly put something on paper as to why, what, who, where, and when, right? Because that's going to help you plan the project better, right? How, part of it is who, where, when, and how. How will it work, right? How will you prepare your team or partners? How will you share tasks? So after you think about this, you write down a little bit of background. Why is the project being undertaken? Describe an opportunity or problem the project is trying to address, right? What is the issue that you're trying to address through the project? Why is it important? Who will benefit? Where will it happen? Who and who will be involved, right? And how you're going to implement. So just briefly write that as a part of a background. A bit later, we are coming back to the title of the project and the actual background. But by now, you should have a fair idea if you go through these questions and the type of data you're going to look at, right? As part of your understanding the situation better, primary and secondary data. Okay, now we are coming to the project proposal. You have an issue, you have a concept of what your project will look like. Okay, now you're going to start writing the proposal. What should be the structure of the project proposal? This is usually determined by the nature of the project and the funding agency's requirement. Sometimes if you're applying to a particular group for funding, they will ask the proposal to be in a particular way, but we are doing the common part, so doesn't matter. When you learn how to write a project proposal, it will be easy for you to fit to the requirements of that particular group that you are applying the funding for, right? So the first part is the title page. So the title page should have all these things: the project title, name of the lead organization, that is your organization, the names of other organizations collaborating with the lead organization, if any. If not, just your organization's name on the cover is okay. Date and place of the project preparation, right? If it's an island or atoll, write that. Write the date, the name of the donor agency or potential sponsoring agency to whom the proposal will be sent to. So where are you sending this or submitting this proposal to? So just write that down, okay? So this is the parts of the title page. So now you have an idea of what the project is. Now you have to write the title. When you are writing the title, think about these things. The title should not be short or too long, okay? It should be concise. Concise means it should be short and sweet, like spelling out what it actually is, not too general. When it's too general, people don't have a clear idea of what it is. So concise means it has to be clear, right? It can refer to a certain key project result or leading project activity, and it should be able to tell the reader what to expect from the content of the proposal. Okay, so here are some titles just to get you thinking of how the title should be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So read them and think about which one is actually effective, looking at this criteria: not too short or not too long, very clear and not general, right? It is specific, concise. It refers to the key project results, something that the project is trying to achieve should be reflected in the title. And it should tell the reader what to expect from the content of the proposal. What should, when they read the title, they should know, okay, this is about this proposal will have these parts. So looking at that, try to read these four titles and think how effective it is. If you look at the first one, it's too short. Environment education. What is it? What's going to happen? What's in the proposal? We don't know. Second one, communities track state budget allocation and expenditures in Colombo, Sri Lanka. Okay, so what happens, right? Why are they tracking it? What is the result they are trying to achieve? We don't know, not clear from the title, right? Look at the third one, protection of the watershed of Lake Ossisi from the wastewater flowing through Ogi River originating from local households in Canada. So here you know what they are trying to do, right? They are trying to separate or protect Lake Ossisi from the wastewater that is flowing through the river, which are coming from the various households. So household wastewater is getting into the river, and they are trying to protect the watershed of Lake Ossisi from being mixed with this wastewater. So we know what the project is about, what they are trying to do, what they will achieve, right? So this is a good title, and you know where it's happening, right? Who and who are involved and all that. Why it's important also we know just by reading the title, right? Because if wastewater get into the lake, mixed with the lake water, there could be a lot of harmful effects. So we already know by reading this, right? The fourth one, again, too vague and not specific enough. So number 3, so if you is the proper one. So if you're writing a title, look for this, look for the criteria, look at the criteria, think of writing a clear and not very long but not very short but clear title on what is actually going on in the project, right? Okay, so you can now do activity 2, which is writing your project title. We've already done one activity, right? That is just writing down a little bit about why your project is important, sort of like a justification, working out or conceptualizing the project, and then writing a bit of a background, right? What the problem is and what the project is trying to achieve. So now we've come to activity 2, which is writing the title. So now you have an idea of the project, write the title. Okay, you can later amend the title if you like. After writing the title, complete the title page. Remember that the title page has the project title, the name of your organization. If you think you are going to involve other organization, who are they? That should be on the cover as well. Date and the island or where the project is taking place, and then where you are sending this proposal or submitting the proposal to. So complete the title and the title page now. Okay, so that is activity 2. So take some time to complete this, but also work a little bit on making the background a bit better. Okay. All right. So you can take about 30 minutes for this. Write in the title, complete in the title page, and write in the background. Now the contents page. A proposal with more than 10 pages should have a contents page and should include table of contents, list of figures. If you are putting any tables or any figures, you have to label them clearly and that should appear in the content page. List of tables, if any. Acronyms, that means shortening of any words. For example, if you write MWSC, you should write MWSC and the long form in a bracket. So abbreviations, acronyms, those things you should actually specify on the contents page. But this is if your proposals go over 10 pages, otherwise it's okay not to have a contents page. Okay, the executive summary. The third part is the executive summary, but we will be writing the executive summary a little bit later because the executive summary should have all these parts: the problem statement, objectives, methodology, implementing organizations, all the activities that you are going to implement, the project duration, and the budget. So executive summary can only be written right at the end and when all these parts are complete, because it's just giving when people read the executive summary, they learn about all these things: what's going to happen, how the activities, what are the activities, how they will be conducted, and during which stages or what time of the year and when the project will start and end, and the budget, right? Okay, right? So now we will work on this a bit later. Now the background. Okay, you've already written a little bit on the background. Remember that the background describes social, economic, political, and cultural background from which the people is initiated. So the context of your island or the group of people you are targeting this should be described well. Relevant data collected prior to proposal writing. So remember, we collected primary data and secondary data, so that you can write the background better. You understand the target group better. The length should be balanced with the size of the overall proposal. So if it's a very detailed, complex project, the background should also describe a little bit in detail all the elements or the context, economic context, political, cultural, all that in detail. But if it's a short proposal, you can just be focus on describing the target group as best as possible, but no, don't make it too long. Okay, so now you can go back and check the background information you wrote earlier again and bring any changes you like, right? So like I said, title page, background, for all this you can take an extra 30 minutes, and from here you can work on this and complete that part. Okay, so I will move along. You can take 30 minutes for that and then continue with the next part that I am covering. Okay. The project justification, also known as the rationale. So this is what the problem statement is. So this describes the specific problem or problems the project is trying to solve, points out why a certain issue is a problem for the community or society as a whole, explain how the needs of the target groups are a direct consequence of the described problem. So you're describing a problem in rationale. Okay, you're saying why this problem is why this issue is a big problem for your community or the society is at large, right? How the needs of the target group are neglected because of this particular problem, how it's affecting or impacting on them. So all this and why this project is beneficial, you'll be able to justify better when you describe all these elements. Okay. Prioritize the identified needs, explain the criteria or method used in prioritizing the needs identified. So you have to identify and say this project is being implemented because of this and this and this, right? And we have chosen, we are focusing on this particular area because of this. So that is justification, right? How this project will improve the situation of the people. Okay. So all this you can think of. All right. So think of how promotion of community-led, for example, if the priority need is improving access to safe drinking water and sanitation, approaches that can be used could include describe each approach separately, provision of affordable and appropriate water facilities to the community, and promotion of community-led total sanitation for all the households in the community, right? So like that, you focus on any two approaches or three approaches. So just choose what you are going to focus on. Okay. Right? Present the capability of your organization, which includes the capacity and previous project records. Why is your organization the most appropriate to carry? What kind of experience does your organization have in order to conduct this proposal or implement this project properly, right? How is your organization connected to the local community, right? The constituency, right? What expertise are you bringing on board? Who are the collaborating partners, if any, right? So all these, when you think of these points, you will already know what you can put in as your rationale. So write the rationale separately, okay? So you have the title page, you have the background now, you have the rationale now, okay? Three things. First is the title page describing what the project, who the organization, any partners, right? All that from the title page. Then the background, right? And then now you're writing a short rationale. Remember, it's very short, right? So justify your choices, right? And why your organization is the best people to handle this project. So you can take about 15 minutes for this. I will continue, but you can always work on this. Take about 15 minutes for work on these points and jot down your ideas. Okay. Now we are going to the purpose or the aims, right? So what are the long-term benefits to the target group, right? So again, this is why this will help you understand the core problem and why the project is important. So when you are setting a project goal, try to think of one goal per project. You can't achieve a lot of goals with one project. What are you trying to achieve, in other words, right? So have a clear goal in mind. The goal should be connected to the vision for development. Again, going back to the strategic plan of your organization. How is the project going to align with that? What are you trying to achieve, right? So how is this project contributing to the vision? That's it, right? So here are some examples of project goals. Improving the quality of life in particular community, right? Eradicating poverty and social injustice among women. And so it can be very broad, but also describe it in relation to the target group, eliminating maternal mortality in Edo state. So like that. Okay, so that is the goal. Have a goal in mind that aligns with the vision in the strategic plan. Now you can think about the objectives, right? Here you will write the benefits that the project beneficiaries or the target group will receive directly because of the project, right? And again, this is related to the goal, but the objectives are describing the different parts that you are going to, different things that you are going to achieve as part of arriving at that broader goal. Okay, so it can have more than one objective. The goal should be one, but there can be many objectives, right? But remember, project objectives must be SMART. SMART means it should be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. Here are examples. Increase access to safe water and sanitation of households by 90% and 100% respectively in this particular community by, so here you can see that it's specific, right? You know where the target group, that's the Egbeya community, right? And you know what you're going to do, that is sanitation of households, access to safe water and sanitation of households, right? Measurable, because you can measure and see whether 90% target has been achieved or 100% target has been achieved, right? Attainable, right? Is this something you can do? If it cannot be done, then don't write it as 90% or 100%, right? Write it in a way that you can achieve it. But it should have clear, important goals that you can achieve, right? Realistic, that again means if it isn't attainable and you just write this, within 1 month we will provide safe water and sanitation for each household. That may not be possible, that cannot be done. So it's not realistic if you are just not basing your resources and finances available to you, and the duration of the project and things are not aligning with the objective, then it's not realistic. So again, time bound means by 2019. So there's a clear target to achieve, right? So that's how you write a specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound objective, meaning a SMART objective. So think about your project, the different elements of it, the duration of it, what you're trying to achieve, how are you going to measure its success. All these things together, you can write an objective. Reduce by 75% the rate of acute infections in Egbeya community by 2020. Again, specific, right? So here are some examples of some objectives that are specific. I have put a tick there. Things that are, some objectives that are SMART, I have put a tick there. I have put a cross for the ones that are not SMART. Okay, for example, first one, to increase use of antenatal services by pregnant women aged 15 to 24 by 40% in 2 years, right? Something that you can actually achieve, right? There's a tick, it's a SMART one. In the second and third one, you can see it's not time bound. It cannot be measured. For example, to ensure that sub-grantees have adequate funding and material support. What are you trying to achieve? How are you going to measure whether this has been achieved or not, right? Where is the time duration? It's not indicated. So by looking at these examples, I'm pretty sure you will have a fair idea of how to write the SMART objectives now. So now let's look at how the goals and objectives are related. For example, based on the examples I've taken earlier, improving the quality of life in Egbeya community, that's the broader goal, right? From that, two objectives have been taken. First one, to increase access to safe drinking water and sanitation. Smart objective is there. Second one, to reduce by 75% the rate of acute infections, right? So here, two objectives have been written under that goal. So remember, you don't need to write many objectives, but have a goal that aligns with the vision in your strategic plan of your organization. Break the goal into achievable objectives, right? So it can be one or two objectives. Now, the third activity. Now you have the title, you have the background, you have the rationale. Write the goal, and then from the goal, write the objectives. And make sure you check these examples and make it smart objectives, okay? And remember, you don't need to have many objectives, but it has to be related to the goal, and you can just write two objectives. So work on it, take about 15 minutes and write down the objectives. So you can pause and take some time for this. I will continue with the next slide. Project results. Okay, so the results describe the services or products that you are going to deliver to the target group directly through your project, right? So this has to be, the results has to be measured through objective indicators. Example, percentage of households that have gained access to safe water, number of affordable and appropriate water facilities, percentage of infection rates relating to these objectives, right? The results. So results can only be measured when you put in percentages, numbers, and making it time bound. So that's how the project results will be measured. Okay. So you have to now look at this and say, this is the goal of the project. These are our objectives. Because of these objectives, these and these and these results will be there. Okay. So look at the example again and look at the results I've written for that same example, so that you also know by looking at your goal how you can write objectives, and by looking at your objectives how you can break down the result, the percentages, numbers, things that you can easily measure. Okay. So here again, the relationship between goal, objectives, and results have been written. Okay. So you can see how these are interconnected. It will be good for you to put on paper like this, the same way, your goal, and below it the objectives, and below it the expected results. Okay. So now you can develop this part. Take about 10 to 15 minutes to write down what results your project is going to yield. Okay. Right. Now the target group. Provide a detailed characteristic of the target group. Who is your target group? Right? From your community, are you is this project going to benefit the entire community? If so, describe the characteristics of the people of the community. Age, right? Mostly is it youth, or mostly is it elders? Are you particularly targeting it to a particular age group, or just generally to the entire population? What was the location, gender? So if it's other countries, of course there could be differences in ethnicity and religious affiliation. We don't have that. I don't think that distinction will be there in the Maldives, but remember that that is also part of target group analysis. Occupation, economic and social status, and any other relevant information about the target group. So now you write who is going to be, your project is targeted at which group of people. And now you write there a brief analysis of what their age groups are, what is the social and economic status enjoyed by these people, and other occupations that they are involved in, all this important information, right? Again, you can take some time for this, like about 10 minutes. Now we will look at project implementation. Here you are detailing the activities and resource allocations. Who will implement the project activities? When will the project activities be implemented? Where will the project activities be implemented? Okay. A project implementation can be divided into two parts, that is the activity plan and the resource plan. So first, describe the project implementation in detail, make an activity plan, then go ahead and make the resource plan. The examples are on the next slides. The activity plan is detailing out specific information and explanations for each of the activities that you are planning under this project. Okay. The duration of the project should be there. When will it begin and when will it end? Those dates should be there. And here is a format. You can make a simple activity table that shows sub-activities, tasks, timings, and responsibilities. Or you can make a Gantt chart that shows the dependence and sequence for each activity. Okay. So these are the steps for making an activity plan. List all project activities, break activities into manageable sub-activities, right? So these are the main project activities. Under it, write what are the other activities that fall under it. Those are the sub-activities. By relating activities to each other, determine their sequence and dependence, right? Draw up a timeline for each task. Starting date, duration, completion date for each task. Okay. Summarize the scheduling of main activities, right? Use milestones. Milestones means key events that provide a measure of project progress and targets for the project team to aim for. So provide milestones, define expertise, right? For each task, what is the level of needed expertise? Allocate tasks for the team, distribute responsibilities. Okay, so here, for example, a simple table. All right, these are the activities that you have. For example, one is community mobilization. You want community to be engaged in this project. So first thing, community mobilization. What are the things that you are going to do? If you write community mobilization and leave it at that, people won't know, the people who are reading the proposal won't know, and you also won't have a clear idea how you are going to achieve this. So you have to break it down. What are the things you are going to do in order to mobilize the community? For example, number one, community mobilization. So you are putting the subcategories under it, all the tasks that you are going to do. For example, arrangement with radio stations in the state to request for expression of interest by communities, preparation of radio messages and selection criteria, announcement of over radio calling for expression of, so like that, what are the things that you are going to do? And here 1.5 you can see meeting with community leaders as well. So like that, what are the things that main tasks you can write down first? Each main task, break it down like this with two subcategories. Next column, you can see the implementation time. Start date, end date, and you can leave a blank space there to note down what happened, because that will be important for your evaluation and monitoring as well later, what things you could achieve and not. And you will also know why this, if you are later following up, why these things happened or not, or what are some of the difficulties you arrange. Or here you can even write other information that is important for you, right? So start date, end date, leave a column for notes if you like. Then the responsibility. Who are the project personnel who will be responsible for that? Otherwise, if you don't indicate this, nobody will know who's going to do what. So program manager is going to do, the program manager is the lead in charge of community mobilization. So that person should see whether these people are doing these things. Community officer is doing these first 3 tasks, right? Then program manager is himself or herself taking care of the last 2 parts with the coordinator, right? So everybody knows their roles very easily. I have to do this, I have to do that, right? So that is clearly on paper when you do this. So, okay, so remember you are making an activity plan and a resource plan. So these are the ways that you can actually sequence the activities, right? Indicate the timelines and all that, okay? Right. So that is the simple activity table. So there are 2 ways you can make that. I said first is the suggested 2 suggested formats. First is the simple activity table. Second one is the Gantt chart. So you can see the example of a Gantt chart here. Design and implement training program for project management, right? So what you are doing is indicating the duration here. All right, so you have to make this one, but you can make this Gantt chart here to show how the sequence is going. So you know that even though, for example, improve procedure for project management, if you're starting in month 1, it's continuing into month 3. So if this project is 3 months, you can show what activities will last throughout. So it's easier for you to understand the sequencing, okay? So 2 ways you can do this. Again, suggested format to present the activity plan, simple activity table that shows sub-activities, task, timing, and responsibility, and Gantt chart that shows the dependent and sequence for each activity. So now you can do 2. First one, the activity plan, and after that, you can work on the Gantt chart, which is much easier, right? But remember, you have to do this one as well, right? Start date, end date, and responsibilities allocated. So that is very important. Okay. Now the resource plan. Establish cost. So take some time for this, 30 minutes or so for these 2 charts on implementation. Then go to the resource plan. So as the name indicates, resource plan is, it summarizes the cost information for budgeting, identify units, quantities, calculate costs. So here I have put a resource plan example here, right? So here you are including the equipment, you need salaries and allowances. So you know under your project what are the things that you will need, okay? Right, so you can work on the resource plan as well. So now we come to management and personnel. Management, who is managing the project? What are the communication systems that exist, right? Other things that the personnel. So all the, when you are sending the proposal or submitting it, all the personnel's roles should be indicated clearly, and their CV should be attached to the annexes at the end of the proposal. So now write down who the personnel or the staff are in your project and what their roles are. What will they be trying to or responsible for, right? So that's activity 7. Now we have the budget. Budget has to be itemized, and it's a summary of an organization's expected income and expenditure over a period of time. So it can vary from organization how you are actually presenting it, but the 2 main elements will remain constant in each budget, that is the income or the revenue, and the expenditure, which is the expenses or costs. You can, for budget also, you have to have categories, classify expenditures into smaller groups according to a certain criteria, So this will enable you to effectively monitor the expenditure. So direct costs and operational costs can be indicated, and each unit separately identified and indicated in the budget. So here's an example, right? So two activities come under this. First one is I prepare an itemized budget for your project. And then remember we talked about the executive summary earlier. Go back to the executive summary slide and write a little bit overall summary of what your project is about. Okay. Monitoring and evaluation. So now the project cycle is complete. You are coming to the last stage, which is the monitoring and evaluation. You have to find out from each objective. You have to develop indicators so that you can measure, monitor and evaluate your project. So what is monitoring? That is a management tool which gives regular and continuous feedback that can be used to make decisions, right? So simply it measures the progress of the activities toward the same end. Okay, so what do we monitor? The finances, project activities, inputs, results, the way the project is managed, all this we will monitor. And evaluation, it means the assessment at one point of time on or the impact of something. So look at the objectives, outputs, outcomes, and the impacts, the key indicators, information about the indicator. So when you read the slide, also some details have been provided. And I put a little bit about what indicators are. They are units of measurement. For example, here, if you have this objective here to train peer educators who can give HIV AIDS education in targeted area. Let's say you have a project goal and under it there's one objective that says this. After that, under that objective, break down the ways that you can measure how you have achieved that objective. For example, you can look at the number of trained peer educators to see whether how many have been trained, right? Number of people trained by peer educators in different, has these peer educators gone on and educated other people, and how many are they? How are you going to measure it? You have to develop the tools. So when you write these indicators, you know, okay, I have to measure this, I have to develop this tool, and I have to administer it, and I have to do it, right? So those are the activities. Total 50 peer educators are trained in project year. At least 500 peers are trained by peer educators. At least 2 HIV education activities organized by peer educators. Monthly reports and activity records can show this. So you have to find out ways how you're going to measure the achievement of the objectives that you wrote. So those are the things that the activities you develop under it, and those are the indicators. Okay, so you can work on this, how you are going to monitor your project. Next is the logical framework or log frame. Here you can see very clearly how in each row you can present sort of like a mapping it out 4x4 matrix. You are writing a logical framework of your project. So you can see the first column of the matrix systematically presents the project's overall objectives, the purpose, the midterm results, and the activities. The second and third column presents the corresponding indicators and the sources of information, and the fourth column presents the assumptions or direct control of the project that needs to be fulfilled, right? So what is going to happen at each stage are the assumptions that you are going to make. So put this on. Now you have everything, you've written down everything. Put this on one sheet of paper so that it's clearly, by looking at it, people can get a clear idea of how your project is functioning. What is the cost? Okay, what is the activities? What is the mean? Means the average and the cost. Okay, right. So that's actually the proposal. You can also think of how you're going to report it, right? 6 monthly, quarterly, annually, right? How you're going to report it. So you can indicate that as well, right? So here is, for example, how you can report the so this is at a later stage, so you don't need to write this part, but I have included this because this is also important information for you. After you write the proposal, after you get the funding and implement the proposal, how are you going to measure all the or evaluate your project, and how are you going to report? So reporting part is not included. You can just indicate how you're going to report. You don't have to write down how you're going to the details of the report. You don't have to write, but how you're going to report annually or quarterly or 6 monthly, in what format you are going to write, report it, like submit it like a narrative or a financial report, right? You can indicate that what kind of data you will be using. So you don't have to map it out like this, but you can just write those basic things. And if you are submitting the proposal to the when you're submitting the proposal, the annexes should be there, and these are the important documents that should be there in the annex, right? So for this class, the proposal, you don't need to put anything in the annex, because we are just making up a proposal, and we are thinking of a project and making up a proposal, right? So you don't need to put anything in the annex, but in the actual proposal, you need to. That's why I put it, because it's also part of the proposal, right? All right. So I hope you have a clear idea of how, I hope you have received a clear idea of how the proposal can be written. I will now show you the study plan that I've made, which will be shared with you by Civil Services Training Center Institute. And it's about, I hope you can see that, right? It shows the number of the time or duration you can spend on. Now, by the end of this presentation, if you have stopped at the times that I indicated and written or jotted down your ideas, you would have an outline of your the proposal. Now, spend some extra time on each of these parts and put it together, okay? Complete the proposal and its parts, and this is the proposal marking rubric. If when you look at it, you will see how you will be marked, and what are the things that are being expected from the background, what are the things that should be there, what the rationale should, how the rationale should be, whether you were able to write smart objectives, whether you have indicated the benefits to the target group well, whether you have written the goals and the outcomes clearly, right? And the activity plan and resource plans are detailed, whether you have written, indicated a realistic timeline in the Gantt chart and all that. Budget, right? Target groups, staffing in their roles, right? That is the project personnel and their roles. As planned for monitoring and evaluation of project, you know clearly what are the indicators, how you're going to measure the impact of your project. All the required parts of the proposal being present. This is all the about the structure, organization, and format, right? And in the part C is grammar and mechanics. When you are writing, whether you are able to express your ideas well, whether it's paragraphed well, clear, information is clear and consistent, and then grammar and spelling also a little bit. So total marks out of 80, and the marks will be converted to 100. So that's it. I hope it gives you a clear idea of the parts of the proposal, how it should be written, and how you will be evaluated on it. So I hope that by watching the presentation and thinking about the different parts of the proposal, you now understand the key components of writing a proposal and can write one. Just spend some time on each of the parts, read the slide well, look at the rubric and develop your proposal well. Thank you and good luck. Bye-bye.